There are many types of vectors. So in this video, we will learn about them. Number one, that is zero or null vector or null. What is a zero or null vector? The vector which has the magnitude of 0 is called the zero or null vector. Magnitude. Okay. Second, the unit vector. What is a unit vector? The vector which has the magnitude of 1, magnitude equals to 1, then the vector is called a unit vector. How we can get the unit vector? Suppose we have a vector that is r and we want to calculate the unit vector of it. We can do that. Let the unit vector of r is n cap. So this n cap is equals to the vector r divided by the modulus of vector r, or in simple words, the magnitude of the vector r. So you can say that this unit vector just denotes the direction of the vector r. Okay. Now, number 3, co-initial vectors. What are co-initial vectors? Suppose here is a point which is A. There is a vector that is r1 which starts from A, and there is another vector r2 which also starts from A. So r1 and r2, these two vectors has the same starting point. So these two vectors are called co-initial vectors. Number 4, like and unlike vectors. What are these two? If two vectors has the same direction, that is, like here is r1 vector in this direction and there is another vector which is something like r3 which has the same direction as the r1, then we call r1 and r3 are like vectors. Okay. Now if the thing is completely opposite, like if this is r1 vector and another vector which is r2, and the direction of r1 and r2 are opposite, then these two vectors are called unlike vectors. Now, number 5, which is coplanar vectors. What are coplanar vectors? Suppose I draw, this is r1, this is r2, this is r3. Here, as you can see that r1, r2 and r3 lie on the same plane, that is, lie on the plane of the paper. So these three vectors are called coplanar vectors. That is, they lie or they situate in the same plane. Okay. Now, number 6, which is collinear vector. What is collinear vectors? Suppose if a vector which is r1 and another vector which is parallel to this vector which is r2, if these two are parallel, or there is another one, that is this is the r3 vector and another vector which starts from the same point and in the same direction but has a different magnitude which is r4, let's suppose. So let's name this o a, this point is a and this point is b. Okay, so this oa vector and OB vector lie on the same line. So these two vectors, or this R1 and R2, these two vectors are called collinear vectors. And number 7, equal vectors. That the name suggests, if two vectors like R1, which is this one, and another vector which is r2, if these two vectors have the same magnitude and the same direction, then these two vectors will be called equal vectors. So these are some of the types of vectors. I know there are many types of vectors which I didn't cover in this video as well, but we will eventually cover it. So that's it for now.